Okay, well, I'm going to start diving into the actual library for everyone who's here. And as people come in, they can just join us at that point. What I want to start with first is just sort of showing you all the different components that are inside the Revolution Library. And then we will give you a demonstration of the search capabilities of the library and everything that's in it after that. And then we'll open up for questions at the end of our hour together. So first, what you're seeing right now is the homepage where you land when you log into the Revolution Library. You can see here at the top, we have an announcement that our first connection call is on April 14th. So every second Friday, right, Sarah? Second Friday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern US, which is New York time, we are going to have a 1 hour call together with Sarah and I and everybody who wants to join us, who's a member of the library, for support and connection and just leaning on each other. Really, we do these calls for our Behavior Revolution program already, and people really feel good about that experience and get a lot out of those conversations. And they're not usually learning, we're not doing training or anything like that. We're just really connecting and supporting in those calls. So we're going to do those once a month here for the Revolution Library. We also have a community that offers online chat to you, and it's hosted through Mighty Networks, but it is private just for our Revolution Library members. You can see here, as I'm logged in, what we've posted so far there is we're just getting started, and also the April challenge, which I'm going to go ahead and show you while we're here. Each month, we are setting a challenge for our members, something that's going to help you create a new positive habit within your parenting or your work with neurodivergent children. So for April, we set the challenge of telling your kid each night before bed, "I like the way you blink today." This is something I did with my own son when he was much younger, and he still let me tuck him into bed. And it was really powerful. And so we're starting with that practice. We want you to practice like every day. And there's a downloadable habit tracker worksheet here for you so that you can really dive into it, put your whole heart into it, track how you're doing, and then come back here and we can chat about it and support each other and see how we're doing with that challenge. And so every month, at the end of the month, we'll set the challenge for the next month. You'll get that habit tracker for that next month and be set up to be successful with that as part of the community. And the Changemaker calls are just what we were talking about a moment ago. The second Friday of every month, you have a time zone converter here for our friends who are not in the US or in other parts of the US. And also the link is always here when you log in. And we have some downloads. Every month we will add at least one new download. So far we have our manifestos, our behavior wheel, and some just really good sort of coaching worksheets to help you take action. So they're guiding you on how to like manage meltdowns, or they're guiding you on some sort of practice that's going to help you with your parenting. Our May downloadable is going to be a guide on better mornings, getting ready in the morning, those processes which so many of our families struggle with. And then the other piece that we have here is called the Success Path. And this just helps you to build kind of a solid foundation. These are foundational skills, foundational sessions that we have mapped out for you just to get you jump started in your experience here in the library. But also, there's 210, 12, something like that sessions, video expert sessions in the library. There are also a little over 200 podcast episodes in the library that are all searchable. So there's a lot of information there. And what we wanted to do was really give you a place to start where you can take this journey and learn some specific things that really sort of set the foundation for everything, for all of your parenting, for a lot of the other sessions.
I also wanted to say, like, the beauty of the library is we have all these sessions you can search for whatever you want, but the success path is sort of what we consider the basics. So, you know, if you know about us and know about what we do, then you probably know a lot about what the basics are, you know, in our minds. But we thought that curating some of our favorite videos and podcast episodes that help you with each of those stages would help you, you know, so we're all starting from the same point and you have a good way to get started, and then you can jump in and start searching for specific topics.
Right. Or you can skip it. It's totally up to you. The journey is totally up to you. But we feel like this is a great place to start for people who need a place to start. So you can see, like, this is stage 1. We have an applicable expert session. We have action for you to take. And then you reach your milestone once you finish this one and you move on to the next. And so you can see some of them have more sessions than others. This stage 2 on reframing and decoding behavior has 3 different video expert sessions. And then again, your action and your milestone. And so that's there if you want it. I'm hoping that we will build some more of these success paths for different things for you in the future and keep adding them as we go. And then, of course, the big sort of crux or foundation of this whole library is the library, right? I don't have another word. It's the library of all of these expert workshops that we've done over the years. And there's so many, I think it's 140 to 145 different experts that are represented here. Many of kind of the more well-known favorites have more than one session here in the library. And so they are mapped out into different categories, but they're also totally searchable. So first, I'll show you how they're mapped out into different categories, and then we'll start doing some example searches. But you can see, like, there's a whole group of challenging behavior. There's 35 different sessions in this specific category, totaling almost 26 hours worth of content. And this circle here with the 1% will show you how much you've completed. So as you make progress, as you watch things, you will see that you are making progress as well. It will sort of give you that visual reward a little bit. And we also have some achievement badges as well that you earn as you do different things in the library, or as you go past certain, like, time milestones of
You
being a
got
member
a badge,
for 6
Kenny.
months. I know earlier Sarah and I were searching and preparing, and I got my first achievement badge already, which was for doing a lot of searches. So we're trying to make it engaging and fun for you as well. And so the other categories: emotions, regulation and calm, school learning and teaching, executive functioning, parenting, kind of specific to parenting, social connection, sensory processing, teens and young adults, interventions, treatments and wellness, before, during, and after, diagnosis. And then we have some autism specific sessions and some ADHD specific sessions. And then we also have our master classes here. So if you know us from previous summits that we've had, we have started to do in the last few of them a masterclass for everyone before that starts. We're also planning to start doing some independent masterclasses with some other experts during the year, and we will charge a fee for that. But if you're in the library, you will get those for free as part of your membership in the library. So we will be adding more presentations there as time goes on. Right now, we have the 4 that we have created. And then, of course, our manifestos are there at the bottom. So you could say, hey, I really just want to learn a little bit about social and connection for my kid, and scroll here and use it there. Or you can search and find very specific information. I'm going to show you that in a second. I just also want to show you the navigation for the site too. You can see that some of those things that are broken out on the homepage are also in the side navigation. There's also a link for your account, how to update your payment or cancel your subscription, and a video on how to use the library and to get the most out of it as well there. And then these are all of those separate categories. And my Beautifully Complex podcast, every episode of that is in here as well, because we thought it would just add to your search results. So yes, you can go and get those for free. Every week you can listen to a new episode for free, and they're all out there available, but this makes them completely searchable and just adds to the information that you can use when you're searching for answers or help on a specific topic. So I'm going to dive into searching and really give you an idea of what that looks like. And I'm going to start with stress. I think that's a good one, both for parents, kids, educators, all of us. And you'll see when you search that it gives you the results in a couple of different ways. So right at the top, it shows you every session or podcast episode that has stress in the title. And so that kind of gives you an idea, okay, these are pretty focused on stress, these whole sessions or workshops or episodes. And then below that, you actually see every time stress is mentioned in the entire library and exactly where it's mentioned. So if you want to just pinpoint that information that you're looking for right at that time, you can do that. You don't have to say, okay, well, this session is on stress, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch this whole 30, 45-minute session. You can actually pinpoint exactly where our speakers are talking about the information that you're looking for. So let's take this session with Dr. Stixrud and Ned Johnson. And I can click right here. I hope you can see my cursor where stress is highlighted. And it's going to jump me right into the video at that point.
So I'm a clinical neuropsychologist.
And so you can see the first time they mentioned it is actually only 48 seconds in. And so the transcript is here on the right. For all of the video sessions in this library, this is the layout that you will see when you play the episodes or the workshops on your computer. And so the transcript is over here on the right. You can see that in real time as you're watching. You have the ability to turn on closed captioning. You have the ability to also speed up or slow down the video. Some people like to watch them faster, some slower. And those are all different tools that are here automatically for every video. And I can go say, I want to, jump down to another thing that they talked about. If I click that stress over here, well, maybe I'm wrong about that. Oh, it's just not automatically playing. It's skipping. And then because I paused it, it wasn't automatically playing. So you can skip over here in the transcript as well. And if you close it, then you have a bigger window here for the video. You have the ability to mark things complete as you go. So you don't have to worry about what you have and haven't watched. And you have, of course, the overview and some more about the experts that are in those videos. And then attachments. The transcript is there for download. This one also has the video for download. So there are lots of tools just within each of these videos, right? They're made to be able to get the most out of them that you can. But what I find kind of extraordinary is that you can literally search a word and click and get the middle of a video where somebody is talking about it. Because there are many sessions where we talk about several different things. And just because someone didn't talk about stress throughout the entire session doesn't mean that there isn't some great information about stress for example, in that particular video. Some other keywords that we can show you here. Anxiety, for example. We have many titles with anxiety in them, but it also found 1,247 mentions of the word anxiety, which might give you some anxiety all on its own. But that just goes to show that there's a lot of information in here, right? There's so much that's available. You can also view these in a different view if that helps you. For me, if I'm searching, I want to see what they're talking about so I can see, is this applicable to what I'm looking for or not? And some may be and some may not be. Many of the sessions I do want to mention also have multiple, they're in multiple categories. So if something was really good for behavior and also maybe teens, then it's going to show up in both categories. So you can cross-reference in that way as well. And then everything is really tagged well so that you can find what you're looking for. These keyword searches are going to give you the best results possible. All of the expert names are also tagged. So if you want to look for something by a particular speaker, let's say Ross Green, because I imagine that would be a common one. Now you see where Sarah mentions Ross Green, where I mention Ross Green, and eventually we also have Ross Green himself. Because we talk about Ross Green and how behavior is communication a lot, and because it's very important. So you can search that way as well. It doesn't have to just be a keyword. You can also search for a speaker name. Things like emotion come up with a lot of results as well. So emotional regulation, emotional intelligence, big emotions, even things like interoception and how sensory plays into emotions. All of those things are covered here in the library. Another one would be regulation, which is a big one that we talk about quite often. And you'll see we have lots of good stuff there too. So what's in here so far are our first, how many summits have we done now, Sarah? 8, I think 7 or 8 are in there. The only one that isn't in here now is the Decoding Behavior Summit for 2023 that we just did. And those are coming in over the next few months. So in April, we are going to put 3 new ones in. In May, we're going to put another 3 of those. In June, another 3. And so by the time we get close to the end of those, we'll have another summit with even more sessions coming in. So every year, we're adding at least 36 of these expert video workshop sessions. We're also adding around 50 podcast episodes. We'll also add at least 2 masterclasses, but I want to say it'll probably be more like 4 per year. And we are adding 1 download every month. And we are adding, what am I forgetting? The challenge every month as well. And then, of course, those calls are monthly too, right, where we connect. And so the content here is constantly going to be growing and being refreshed with more new information as well. Let's see, executive functioning was another one we thought about previewing here for you. And you can see that we have some people who are pretty well known in that circle, like Seth Perler. We also have executive functioning conversations from a lot of other experts as well. Brendan Mahan, James Forgan. I've had many, many conversations on executive functioning on the podcast as well. Monica Adler-Werner, Carolyn McGuire. I'm sure that you guys are probably recognizing a lot of these names. So there are so many, that 140 some experts is actually only the videos. I haven't even counted how many experts have been on the podcast. I have no idea, but I would say at least 100, and probably only 20 or 25% of them overlap. So There's
Yeah.
at least 200 different experts that are represented here, if not more.
Penny, you've been doing your podcast for how long?
There's 215 episodes as of yesterday. But they don't all have guests. Some of them are just solo cast. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of content here, which can feel really overwhelming and daunting, but because it's searchable. You know, Sarah and I have tossed this idea around for years, and we have not had the technology that was affordable enough to be available to us for this until recently. And so we haven't been able to make it happen. But we knew that we were amassing this huge library that could be so super helpful. I mean, I would have, I don't know, jumped up and down and gone berserk if something like this had been available when my kid was little. Like, all I wanted was for somebody to tell me what to pay attention to, what I needed to know, which experts were the ones that kind of spoke to parents. You know, that's another thing that's really unique about this. For Sarah and I, we've lived it too. We're not just, you know, professionals or psychologists. And, you know, we've actually gone through many years of this ourselves. And so you get all of this information through that lens of a parent who has been doing this in their own home, in their own family for a long time. And I think that that's valuable. I certainly was looking for parents who were living it to tell me what the heck I needed to be doing in the beginning, or even after the beginning. It took years to figure it out. And so, you know, this is something that we really, truly have dreamed about having available, and have finally been able to make it happen, which is very, very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, if I'd had this when my kids were little, I was just thinking I probably wouldn't have slept very much because I would have been listening to videos and podcasts all the time. So yeah.
It's such a different, not a different world necessarily than 15 years ago, but
it's a
this landscape is completely different than when our boys were diagnosed. There just wasn't anywhere near this kind of stuff online. As I was thinking, as you said, watching videos, I'm like, I'm not sure there were any videos for me to watch when he was diagnosed. Like, I'm not sure that existed at all, which is crazy. The other thing to kind of point out to you is that about 20 to 25% of our speakers here are neurodivergent themselves. And so there's some representation of that community as well. And that does not include the podcast sessions. I have not calculated the statistic on that for that, but I would guess that it's about the same. And so I think, 20 to 25% is pretty accurate for the whole thing. And I think that perspective is really important to have in what you're consuming as a parent or an educator. Like, that inside perspective is another thing that I was super desperate for when my kid was little. I really just wanted to know what his experience was like. And I've learned every time we have an autistic adult as a speaker doing one of these sessions, I always learn a ton. I always have these huge light bulb moments of like, wow, so that's what it's like, really getting it and getting my kid a little better. Anything else that I'm missing, Sarah? What do you want to add?
Well, one thing I am excited, you talked about it a little bit, but that online community, the Mighty Networks community, that's something I had. Actually, it saved my bacon when I was, when my kids were growing up, because we had an online email listserv that a friend of mine created. And so it was just like, I could just throw out, hey, weird thing happened. I don't know what to do. Please help. Like, actually, a friend of mine wrote today, on that listserv that still exists, that, if it hadn't been for another parent on that list, she wouldn't have known how to help her daughter with her eczema challenges. And I like, the purpose of the list was for twice exceptional kids, but that community, was so much broader than just that, and everybody was experiencing their own flavor of whatever. And there was always somebody who could help you figure out what to do for your kid, and lots of different perspectives. So I'm really excited about the community.
Yeah. And we were very purposeful in putting it on Mighty Networks instead of just a Facebook group, because we know a lot of people are not on Facebook or moving away from Facebook. And it's really hard to find information anymore on Facebook. You only get whatever, the Facebook wizard thinks you need to see in that moment. And so here, you can turn on notifications to email you. You can turn them on every time somebody posts, once a day, once a week. I think there's even once a month. But you're only seeing conversations from our group. Nobody else is coming in and out. It's just the group of members who are also in the library with you and have a similar journey in parenting or educating as you do. And so
it's private, right? Like we don't
it's totally
know what
private.
Facebook is doing with our data. So that was another thing that was really important to us, was to make sure that, it was a safe space for us to talk about what's going on.
Yeah, but you can use it just like Facebook, in that you can have threaded conversations. Here, you can, I believe, private message other members in our group. You can tag other members in your responses and your conversations. You can see that I did here. We have 2 of our members so far who have come over and created their Mighty Networks account. And so I had called out and welcomed them. And then, of course, we can keep chatting on any of these different posts. And I love too that they say, cheer this on. Instead of like it or love it, you're cheering for each other, which is really the whole point of what we're doing, right? Is to celebrate the little successes that other parents don't get, to talk about how hard our day was, or to celebrate wins. When Sarah and I get on calls with our Behavior Revolution program folks, we often start with wins for the week. Or for the 2 weeks in between our calls. And I think that's really important, that we're also focusing on the positive too, and not just all the hard stuff.
Well, and also something I love is that I can say something that my friends whose kids aren't neurodivergent, like I remember when my older son learned to ride his bike, and he was 13, but I was so excited that he learned to ride his bike. And I could share that with that listserv I told you about, and they got it. They got why that was such a big deal for him and why I was so happy. That's not the kind of thing you can necessarily share elsewhere, but it was a huge win for him, and I was really excited about it. And those parents really got why it was so awesome.
Yeah. Some of the experts, if we want to kind of run through that a little bit, Ross Green, of course, is here. Someone Sarah and I are a huge fan of, Jackie Flynn. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Dana Abraham. Many of you probably know from Calm the Chaos. And there we go. My kiddo, both of us, obviously. Stixford and Johnson, Julie Skolnick, Greg Santucci, Dr. Sharon Celine. Obviously, I can't list all 140 like I'm trying to do. Seth Perler, just lots of people probably recognize Holly there. Brendan.
Laura Sibold.
Mm-hmm. Debbie Reber.
Yeah.
Debbie
Adam Fletter. Oh, and Kelly Mahler.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And Louise Lockhart's amazing too. Just so many good ones. Here's an example of one with an autistic adult. Kelly Mahler's
that one
last one.
That was a great interview.
That was definitely the most loved out of that summit. She had Chloe with her in her talk about interoception, and Chloe shared her experiences and how she learned and grew, and strategies she used and all sorts of things. So you'll find that in several of the sessions. Most of them, I think this is the only one where we had an autistic adult join a professional. I think the others are all the autistic adult is the professional. And then, of course, we have adults with ADHD too. Brenda Mahan is open about that. and now I'm going to blank on anybody else, but his face was in front of me. I believe Seth Perler, I want to say.
I think Seth is.
There's many more, but I am just completely
Well, you know what I was remembering?
That.
Kim Clary is an autistic adult who was diagnosed with ADHD and didn't get her autism diagnosis till much later. But she and her husband actually present together, so we interview them together.
Right.
And that's she's somebody who just really opened my eyes. And Paul Mikolev, he's really incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love Paul.
We have several sessions with Paul.
Yeah.
We have experts from other areas, not just the United States. Paul's in Australia. We've had a few other Australians. Peter Vermeulen is in Europe, correct?
The Netherlands, yes.
The Netherlands.
That's a great interview, by the way. It was really fun. And I often send families I'm working with to that interview because it just helps them understand how to help their kids.
I know we've had a few Canadians as well.
Well, Stuart Shonker and
right.
So the Merit Center, Susan Hopkins with him.
So much there. Yeah. And so many different topics covered. I think now we can open to Q&A if you're ready, Sarah.
I'm ready.
Oh, we should probably review like pricing. How about that? People might want to know what it takes to.
What a great idea.
Let me just pull that up. There's 3 different options for parents. And then there are options for professionals who want to share the sessions. I'm going to skip on down here. So for individuals, for your household, so it can be more than one adult, co-parents or that sort of thing. Or, if a grandparent lives in the same house, grandparent can watch sessions too. So if you pay per month, it's $25. 6-month blocks. So you'd pay once every 6 months is $125. So you're paying for 5 and getting 1 free, right, Sarah?
Yep.
Check my math. Okay. And then for a year access, you pay once a year, it's $225, which you're paying for 10 months and getting 2 free. Is that math right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. It's Friday at 6:30. I can't do anything now.
Actually, it's a little more than that. It's 3 months free, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I'm just going to get the calculator out. I thought maybe somebody would correct us in the chat, but not so far. So it's been a while since we did this the first time. Let's just do this. It's $18.75 a month if you break it up.
3 months. 3 months free. Thank you, Kristen.
Kristen is always to our rescue. And so I think there are at least 1 or 2 teachers or professionals here. You can certainly, if you just want to do it for your own development, you can do the individual pricing and sign up that way. But for anyone who wants to share it through their school, their office, share with their clients, the parents that they're working with, then you would need the professional access, which is based on your number of users. So, and it's just in 6-month blocks to keep it as little complicated as possible, which was not that easy. So if you have 1 to 10 users, you could pay $375 for every 6 months. 11 to 20 is $675, and 21 to 100 is $1,275. And again, that gives you the opportunity to have 10 different teachers in your school using it. Or, you could have 2 teachers and 3 families using it, or whatever combination that works for your organization or your setup is totally fine. But we wanted to make sure that was a possibility and a way to use this as well. And in the future, we are going to put together a library that speaks directly to teachers and educators. It will have the same content for the most part, but there will be separate meetings for educators, and there will be just more talk about that specific use in those specific cases, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah, and a community for the teachers to brainstorm things.
Yeah. So it'll be a separate community so that really it's educators working together, but also Sarah and I will be coming in there as well and adding our voice and education to that as well. So now we're ready for questions. Were there any in the chat so far, Sarah? Have you been looking?
Nope, just lots of really nice things. Okay.
Oh, good.
For the school user, does that mean having individual accounts?
So that's a good question. We can set it up for individual accounts if you want to track what they're watching to get certificates of completion. I think that we say that it's a $25 fee for each person that we need to separate and track. Otherwise, you can share one login and just set it up as a generic login for all of your users and share that around. When people buy our Summit packages, they have forever access, and so they can download and kind of share that way. But for this, you really want that search feature so that you know what, you can pinpoint what you're needing or what you're wanting to look at. So I would recommend that you either share that one password and login, or you sort of upgrade, I guess you could call it, so that individual people were tracked, because you could potentially get a certificate of completion that way and be able to apply for some continuing education credits in some areas. We don't guarantee that, of course, because we haven't gone through all those processes. But we know that people are successfully doing that with the Summit in certain industries. Does that answer that question? I hope. I feel like it wasn't the clarity that it deserved, but no. I think I got there in the end.
Eventually it comes around. Anyone else have questions?
For sure.
Does anybody have a search term you want Penny to search for?
Yeah, we can do that too.
It shows up. Okay. She said you did answer her question. How long is the $25 per month deal available for?
That's a great question and something I forgot to talk about. So if you join before April 7th, so over the next week, we will lock your $25 a month forever. We're calling it founding changemaker status, and the price will never go up on you as long as you continue your membership. So if you cancel and leave and you come back later, that doesn't apply. But as long as you stay in, yay, a year membership, Danny.
All right.
I mean, that is the best value, obviously. But whatever you do, so if it's the monthly, the biannually, or the annually, if you join us before April 7th, before the end of the day, April 7th, our time, New York time, you will have your rate locked forever. So if you do the $225 a year, it's $225 a year forever for you as long as you're a member. We don't have any plans right away to raise the rate, but it will happen over time. I mean, things just cost more, and it will happen at some point in the future, and it just won't happen to you. You'll get to stay at the great founding member price. I'm trying to figure out how to get back. Here we go.
So Gina wants you to search for organization.
Let's go. I know Leslie Jostle is going to come up. Yep. And she is amazing. I don't know if y'all know her company. I just looked it up earlier because I'd forgotten the name. Order Out of Chaos.
Yeah.
Her planner is like the go-to planner for so many neurodivergent kids, families. I don't think a planner is a go-to for any kid, really. They all sort of resist, but it's designed with poor executive functioning and struggles in those areas of mind. But she has lots of other tools and webinars and all sorts of things, but she's super awesome. Then there's some podcast episodes. This one, episode 88 with Lori Palau. She's actually an organization professional. I did it again. And so there's a little different perspective in that one there. Seth Perler does talk a bit about organization. I think every time we interview him, and then you'll see, this is a good example. Sometimes the system will try to decide that maybe what you meant was something else, like organic, and it wasn't what you meant. So you're going to get, some extra stuff there with anything. The same happens with Google. But for the most part, if your term exists, it's going to bring you lots of results. This was an early podcast episode I did on developmental age and setting expectations, which comes into play when you're talking about organization skill. Like, where is my child on that plane? My personal child would be at like 1 out of 100 because he has almost zero organization. And, that's just another really helpful perspective on organizing is like, where should the expectation lie for my kid given their neurodivergence? This one is about organizations. I forgot Amanda Morin. She talked about organizing with different accommodations and stuff. That was all about talking about school and managing behavior. Brendan typically talks about it too. Steve Goodstein, Sarah, I don't think that's the same kind of organization we're talking about, is it?
Actually, he's talking about organizing your memories in that particular presentation and how we access relevant memories that help us figure out how to navigate a new situation. So there's a couple more search terms if you want to try them.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Gina said organization, and she also said system. And initially I was like, oh, is systems different than organization? But I'm realizing now she probably meant like organizational systems.
Probably.
But anyway.
So what you're going to get with system in our content is mostly the autonomic nervous system.
Right.
Or the nervous system. Yeah. Instead of like systems for organizing, which are probably mentioned in some of those that came up for organization.
Seth Perler talks a lot about that.
Yeah.
All right. So Kristen asked for puberty, adolescence.
We might be stumped there. Let's see.
Puberty, I don't know.
Adolescence, we've got puberty through adolescence. It's mentioned a couple times, actually.
All right. 27 times here.
More than I remembered. That's awesome. We do have, and do you recall, Sarah, if we have a session on how ADHD is different for girls with Linda Rogley. I'm thinking we have something about girls and autism too, don't we? With
Donna Henderson.
So that's represented as well.
Yeah.
Adolescence is definitely in here. Let's see if I can spell it.
Yeah, I'm curious how different it'll be from puberty.
I did not spell it right.
You did?
There had to be more than that.
Well, just keep typing. That's titles too. Oh my God, Penny. E.
I keep trying to correct myself, and I'm really off now.
S-C. Yeah, E-N-C-E.
C-E.
Yeah, you got it right. So Sharon's the only
looks so wrong. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah. And so now you can see, all these talks. So there weren't any with that word in the title, but there are all these talks that have it in the. Oh, there it is.
Adolescent is a.
So it's not smart.
The title. Oh, well, it is because it picked it up down here.
I see, but just
sorry, I clicked again.
That's okay.
So it picked it up down there, but it didn't pick. So it's taking the literal word for the title search,
Yeah,
but it's
okay.
broadening it for the content search.
Yep. So Natalina Harrison from London has a question. So she said, I just bought the lifetime access to the Decoding Behavior Summit. Does the library have all the content from that summit? And is there an ability to upgrade from the price for the summit to the library?
So that summit is not in this library yet.
But it will be.
By the end of the year, all those sessions will be there. They're not there yet. In the library, you have access as long as you have a subscription. When you bought the package from the summit, you have access forever. Like that never goes away. You pay the one price, you have access to it forever. So there's a difference there in the accessibility, but they will be in there, but they're always going to come in later. So
we're putting in 3 each month.
Mm-hmm. So
two
next week, 3 go in, then the month after 3 go in, the month after 3 go in. And by the time we get close to the end of having all of that one in, we'll have the School Struggle Summit going on, and then those will drip in later. So it's really just a difference of how accessible it is. You paid either 97 or 127 US for that forever access to those sessions. And so here, just to get a year access is 225. So it's different. Of course, you're accessing a lot more, more, but that's really the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. More questions. May I know what the 30-day risk-free at the bottom part of the pricing page is for?
If you get in and it's not for you, we'll refund you.
Yeah.
Within 30 days.
Yep.
We'd love to know why it's not for you so that we can improve it.
Yeah, definitely.
But you don't have to answer any questions. You can completely just get a refund. We want it to work for you when you make an investment.
Okay. And let's see, then I think this answered the question from Sandra Doherty. And then Renee Markovich, I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. How long in years will this content be available? Forever?
Well, we
as long as we're maintaining,
we don't live forever, but
True.
As long as Sarah and I are around, it will be out there. There's no plan to limit the amount of time.
We're just going to keep adding to it as we generate more content. So
it's just going to grow and grow. Will this recording be available? Yes. This recording that we're doing right now, yes, we'll have it available tomorrow. You'll get a link to it in the email. So watch your email box for that. And we'll have the whole peek inside and the Q&A. It'll all be there in a recording. Yep. Feel free to share it. I'll post it in social too in our groups and stuff.
Oh, right. Yep. Okay.
More questions?
Danny says, how will we be able to let our friends and school districts know about this?
You can certainly share this registration page, which has all the details. I see. Oh,
I'll paste it. I'll paste it in the chat, Penny.
There's a short.
Yeah.
It's just /join.
Right. Here you go.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So feel free to share. Of course, we would love that. The more people who are in here and using the content, the more we're changing the experience for another kid or more than one kid, which is really what we're hoping to do in the first place. And for the parents and educators, like we talk so much about the kids, we forget about us. And there's a lot in here about us and taking care of ourselves and managing stress and things like that. That's a big part of it too, because we know that we can't do the best for our kids or our students or the families we're serving unless we're doing well for ourselves, unless we feel good, right? And so there's definitely content here for that as well. The other thing I want to make sure that we mention is that a lot of the sessions will talk specifically about ADHD or specifically about autism, but they are almost all, the content is applicable to both. And that's why we sort of pivoted in the first few years. We did summits. We did one on ADHD and one on autism. And as we were finding that so much of it really worked for most neurodivergent kids, we have pulled that together. So now, our summits are for all neurodivergence under different themes like behavior and school struggles is what this year and last year were. So know that, like, if you're watching a video, we didn't go back and there's no way to go back and edit them all and change that. But we'll say, like, welcome to the Parenting ADHD Summit. And the speaker will talk specifically about ADHD. But just know that unless it's in these two categories that say ADHD specific or autism specific, it is applicable to both or either. So we have, let's see, these two.
Yeah.
So there's like 28 out of 200 and some that are really very diagnosis specific. And I would argue that you'll still get nuggets of things that are helpful if your child even has the opposite diagnosis.
Well, especially because there's so much overlap, right? Like so many kids with autism also have ADHD, and so many ADHDers are also autistic, so it really varies. But, the other piece is that we each have our own flavor of neurodivergence, right? And so something that might apply to, let's say I have ADHD, I definitely also have characteristics of myself that are autistic, like I have sensory issues, but I don't meet criteria for autism. And so the stuff, where they're talking about that I really relate to that stuff on sensory stuff. So you can learn a lot just by understanding the variety of the human experience, really.
Yeah. Yes. There's so much here too that really is for all kids, neurodivergent or not. All of the information about autonomic nervous system and regulation and behavior as communication. This goes for all your kids. I wish we could make a shift in parenting in general into that realm, because it's certainly absolutely the best perspective for parenting and educating. So, what you're learning here is very likely applicable to all of your kids or all of your students, not just your neurodivergent kiddo. And so I think that's really important to know too. It's really a full family sort of tool.
Danny said there are so many of our kids that have anxiety, which is absolutely true.
Me and my kid, both my kids.
Well, honestly, like just trying to be in a world that isn't built for you is pretty anxiety provoking. So
it's traumatic, which we talk about in here as well. It can absolutely be traumatic.
Yeah.
One other thing I did think to mention is that these master classes are actually presentations, like slide presentations.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
And these workshops from summits are conversational. But they are packed full of amazing information. We just don't ask those speakers to create slides because they give of their time to make these resources available. So that is probably a distinction that might have been lost on what the difference was there. Can actually jump into this one, but it's going to be, there we go. So you can see here, this was some of this stuff will be familiar, like Rebel Rage. But yeah, so that's the difference there. We will be offering to, and we just haven't set this up yet, discounts for library members for all of our other stuff. So our Behavior Revolution program, my other courses, those will have discounts available for you. And I will add a page here inside the library for that. We just need to get it all set up and coupon codes make, like all of the back end needs to be done for that. I'm guessing it'll be around 10% for the different courses and stuff that we offer as well there. So there's a little tie-in with that as well. And if you did our Behavior Revolution program also, you would get 3 connection calls a month.
Every month.
Now, 2 of them will be back to back on the same day, but you'll have 3 every month, which would be pretty amazing support for sure. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap? Right on time, actually, which is amazing.
In a stunning turn of events.
I'm saying first time ever. For sure. And it doesn't have to be a question necessarily about the library. If you have other questions, we're certainly not doing a big coaching call here or anything, but we're always open to being helpful.
Yay!
Kristen.
Yay! And Danny.
We've known Kristen for a long time. We always shout out Kristen, like everything we do. People probably wonder what the heck. Kristen was maybe a founding happy mama.
I was going to say, she's been with us forever.
A long, long time.
Yeah.
And amazing. And I'm hoping that Kristen will bring some of her conscious discipline knowledge to the group in our calls and our chats too.
Yep.
That'll be amazing.
All right. Well,
Teacher Marcy. Yep. Awesome.
I love everybody's enthusiasm. It's, these are a lot of work to put these kinds of things together. And it's nice to see people excited about it. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I hope our excitement is contagious. I'll help you, Kristen. I'll fix it for you.
It's a great program though.
Yeah.
It's just all me and Penny and not all these other searchable people. How do we encourage teachers that this is worth their time? What a great question.
Loaded question. Not loaded, but just difficult. I mean, it's difficult. And it's something that I talked about when I did the School Struggle Summit last fall was that what we talk about when we're giving teachers advice for neurodivergent kids is good for all students. We're not asking you to do extra work as an educator for certain students. Yes, there is some of that when kids have IEPs and accommodations and stuff. But what we actually teach in these sessions is stuff that can be a pivot point for an entire classroom or, a high school teacher, all of their different classes, right? And so I think that's part of the reason that sometimes there's not necessarily pushback from educators, but just not feeling like they could possibly have the time to do anything else. And I think that that's part of the beauty of the library is that they could be on their phone in the classroom, log in, search, opposition or something, whatever's going on, and get some quick sort of support and help there. It's just a matter, I think, of people understanding that it won't necessarily take a lot of your time because it's searchable. Mm-hmm. I think too that the more that, if you're in it and you're talking about what you're learning from it and encouraging a teacher or your school principal or something like that, then there's potential for them to, like I was just saying, for your excitement about it to be contagious and for them to be more open to it as well. They certainly can always take part in the free summits when we have them, just to get a taste too of what those sessions are like, what we do, where our approach comes from, our perspective, and that sort of thing as well.
And I've found that many teachers are desperate for this kind of information. Mm-hmm. They need the help and they want the help and they don't know where to go to get it. So your child that you are sending into the classroom or whatever is one kid, but I can guarantee you they aren't the only child who's dealing with whatever challenges they are. Incidence of autism is 1 in 36 now, and ADHD is what, 1 in 10?
10 or 12. Yeah, it's high.
Yeah.
Plus, we're not talking about anxiety, depression,
which is, yeah,
learning challenges, all of these things too. Every classroom has kids with learning challenges in it. Every teacher could really be helped by this kind of information. The other thing I was just thinking too is like, if you have a teacher who really wants to learn, offer to come and sit in the classroom with them after school one day or before school and watch one of the sessions together. Like, you can log in and share some information and say, I use this resource and I think it could be great for you as well. My hope is that individual teachers aren't having to buy it, but that schools will provide it for them.
Yeah,
so
poor teachers are always having to buy stuff. Mm-hmm. I was doing my taxes and it had a whole thing for, teachers buying their own supplies. And I was just like, oh, why are we doing this to our teachers?
Happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. And two, you can always reach out to us oh my, it is Friday night. Reach out to us and ask for our help or input on that too. If you're really wanting to get your school involved, I think we're more than happy to try to play a role in that and be helpful. If you think that would be helpful, certainly,
Yep.
And we'd love to go and do some teacher trainings.
Yes.
I would just love to be able to start doing some teacher workshops around the country. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Ooh, spring break.
Yes, it's spring break here too.
So. I don't know spring break anymore, but I will take that trade-off for not having kids in school anymore, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if there's no more questions, we will let everyone go for now. We're really excited to see you in the library and in the chat. Let's get some conversations going in the Mighty Network. It's been a slow go. We had limited access for a few people. We have 42, I want to say 44 people who were in before, based on purchasing from the summit. They were able to get early access. And so now we're building more and more members, and hopefully we'll have lots of conversations and really good support there. It just takes a little while to get it built up. The same is true for Facebook groups and stuff that we've done. But once it gets going, it's going to be an amazing support. Stats on anxiety. Do you have those, Sarah? I don't.
It's have a lot. It's a lot. And what I was just typing here is that if you're in the U.S., and of course the 1 in 36 is also in the U.S., but the Surgeon General has released 2 reports now showing that the incidence of anxiety and depression are skyrocketing, and they're calling it an epidemic. And it's a real problem for our kids, and it's also a problem for adults who are trying to navigate this world too. I mean, it's just we're having a crisis. We're having a mental health crisis in the USA, and I think probably elsewhere as well. So
the positive aspect of that, I think, is that a lot more people have it on their radar now, especially teachers, because it's, a side effect of the pandemic in a lot of ways. The escalation certainly is.
The rates actually were going up before the pandemic, and the pandemic did not help.
No, it did not help at all. Yeah, everything just keeps increasing, right? ADHD, autism, learning disabilities.
Yep.
And there were several conversations about anxiety in the School Struggles Summit from last fall, which is all in the library. And then I'm sure that we will be having conversations about that this fall that will go into the library basically next year, the start of next year as well. But you can also participate in that earlier when it happens too. Anything else from anybody? This was a nice chat. I appreciate everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, for sure. Email us, find us on social, whatever you need to do.
Yeah, info@thebehaviorrevolution.com is our email.